When Daniel Okafor pulled up to the high-end lounge in Lagos in his brand-new Mercedes G-Wagon, the entire crowd took notice. He stepped out, dressed in designer clothes, his wrist glistening with an Audemars Piguet watch. He had money, lots of it. But what puzzled everyone was how. No one knew where Daniel worked. He had no visible business, no office, no connections to any known industry. Yet, in less than 2 years, he had gone from a broke university dropout to one of the wealthiest young men in his city. His friends were in awe, and his neighbors whispered behind his back. But as the saying goes, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Daniel was a ghost during the day, barely seen. At night, however, his penthouse apartment was his playground. The glow of multiple laptop screens lit up the dark room, the sounds of encrypted messages and fake identities being created filled the air. By the time the world woke up, Daniel had already made thousands of dollars. His secret: cyber fraud. At just 25, Daniel was one of the most skilled internet fraudsters in West Africa. His specialty: business email compromise, BC. He hacked into corporate emails, studied ongoing transactions, and impersonated company executives to reroute payments to his accounts. It was a sophisticated crime, no guns, no masks, just intelligence, patience, and deception. For a while, Daniel was untouchable. He lived like a king, exotic vacations in Dubai, first-class flights, VIP parties. But with wealth came scrutiny. A friend from his university days, Connor, began to suspect something was off. "Bro, you don't have a job, but you're spending like a billionaire," he asked one evening. Daniel laughed it off. "Investments," he said vaguely. "Crypto and real estate." But Connor wasn't convinced. He started digging, asking questions. That's when he heard whispers from an old hacker friend who claimed Daniel was more than just an investor. One night, Connor and a few friends decided to set a trap. They invited Daniel to a poker night at a luxury hotel. Alcohol flowed, conversations deepened, and soon, Connor led the discussion to cybercrime. Daniel, slightly intoxicated and feeling untouchable, smirked. "Man, you'd be surprised how easy it is to make money these days." Connor pressed on. "Like how?" Daniel leaned in, lowering his voice. "Let's just say, some corporations are too careless with their emails." Unbeknownst to him, Connor was recording everything. The next morning, Connor sent the audio to a tech journalist who had been investigating cybercrime rings in Nigeria. The journalist cross-referenced details, found clues in Daniel's lavish lifestyle, and ran a bold headline the next day. Daniel woke up to hundreds of missed calls. His name was trending. He panicked, deleting files, burning SIM cards, trying to disappear. But it was too late. Authorities raided his penthouse within hours. They found stacks of cash, fake passports, and multiple laptops filled with evidence. As Daniel was led away in handcuffs, cameras flashed, capturing the fall of a man who once lived like a ghost. Connor watched from a distance, a mix of guilt and relief in his eyes. Daniel was sentenced to 15 years in prison. His luxury cars were seized, his bank accounts frozen. The young millionaire was now just another cautionary tale. As he sat in his prison cell, staring at the cracked wall, he thought about all the people who once envied his life. If only they knew the price he had to pay. Daniel Okafor had spent years living like a phantom, a digital specter who moved money with the stroke of a key. But now, the world had caught up with him. The once luxurious penthouse was gone, replaced by the cold, unforgiving walls of a maximum security prison. The sound of cell doors slamming shut echoed in his ears. He was no longer the untouchable kingpin, he was a convict, stripped of his wealth, his power, and his freedom. But Daniel had never been the type to surrender. If he had learned anything from his years of deception, it was this: every system has a loophole. Even prison. Daniel had been in prison for 3 months when he received an unexpected visitor, a man in a sharp navy suit, with an aura of quiet authority. "You're a very interesting man, Mr. Okafor," the stranger said, sliding a thick file onto the table. "The kind of man who knows how to move money without a trace." Daniel said nothing. The man smirked. I work with people who have an interest in unique talents like yours. People who could make your prison sentence disappear. Daniel's pulse quickened. A way out. But then the man leaned in. In exchange, you work for us. Daniel narrowed his eyes. And who exactly is us? The man just smiled. Daniel knew what this was, an intelligence agency, a private firm, or maybe even something deeper, darker. They wanted his expertise. His mind. His skills. It was tempting. Too tempting. 15 years in a cell, or a new life working in the shadows. But Daniel also knew something they didn't. Something no one did. He wasn't just another cybercriminal. He had access to a dead man's secrets. Before his arrest, Daniel had worked with someone known only as the broker, a faceless figure who supplied him with encrypted financial data, high-profile hacks, and insider information. The broker had ties to cybercrime syndicates, corrupt corporations, and even governments. When Daniel was caught, the broker vanished. No trace. No digital footprint. Just gone. But Daniel had a failsafe, an encrypted USB drive hidden where no one would ever look. A drive containing every transaction, every deal, every conversation he and the broker had ever exchanged. If Daniel took the deal, he'd be a pawn in someone else's game. But if he found the broker first, he could rewrite the rules. That night, Daniel made his decision. Not by accepting the offer, but by planning his own way out. He had spent years outsmarting the world's most secure banking systems. Breaking out of prison. That was just another puzzle waiting to be solved. And once he was free, the hunt for the broker would begin. Daniel Okafor had spent his life playing the system and winning. Even now, trapped behind bars, surrounded by men who had lost everything, Daniel knew one thing for certain: power isn't about where you are. It's about what you know. And Daniel knew something no one else did. Somewhere out there, the broker was still pulling strings. Hiding. Waiting. Watching. But Daniel wasn't going to wait. He was going to make himself disappear before they did it for him. The men in suits thought they had him cornered. They dangled freedom in front of him, expecting him to bite. They didn't realize Daniel was already 5 steps ahead. Because prison isn't just a place, it's an ecosystem. And Daniel had just found his way to the top of the food chain. One night, under the cover of darkness, Daniel approached Bobber K, the man who ran the prison from the inside. I need something moved, Daniel said, his voice low. Bobber K smirked. What's in it for me? Daniel slid a piece of paper across the table, a set of numbers. A bank account. Bobber K's eyes widened. This account was frozen when you were arrested. Daniel leaned in. Who said I was using my own? Bobber K chuckled. You might survive in here after all. The next day, whispers spread through the prison. A guard had been paid off. Files had been altered. Names were shifting in the system. And somewhere in a cold, dimly lit office, a prison official stared at his screen, confused. Daniel Okafor no longer existed. That night, in a routine transfer of inmates, a single prisoner was led out of his cell. Shackled. Guarded. Except, it wasn't Daniel. Daniel watched from the shadows as the prison van pulled away. A different man wearing his identity. By the time they realized the mistake, it would be too late. Because Daniel Okafor would already be gone. Where is Daniel heading now that he's free? Who will come for him first, the broker, the agency, or someone worse? And most importantly, did Daniel escape, or did he just walk into a bigger trap? Subscribe now for more true crime stories.